Hey all, Tom Moran here from Tom's Big Spiders. This one's going to be the first video in a new series that I'm kind of calling Feed and Facts. Basically, we're going to pick a species, I'm going to feed it, and I'm going to rattle off some facts on it. Pretty self-explanatory. But basically, I get a lot of requests to do feeding videos, and I don't do a lot of them. And then I get a lot of requests for updates on certain species. So I figured this would be a fun way to get a little mini feeding video in and also share some updates, some observations, and maybe some, well, facts about that species. And to keep it more interesting, what I'm going to be doing is inviting some other keepers to come on with me and share their experiences. So for this round, we're having California's Critters. I'm super excited to have her on. We've kind of collaborated a little bit already, and this collaboration we have here represents one that we've been working on for quite a while. So she's going to come over to my channel, talk a little bit about her T. albopilosum. I'm going to go over to her channel, and for folks who have been asking me for an update on my Grammostola pulchras, I'm going to be over on her channel showing off mine, and we'll be talking about those. So I figured it'd be a neat way to kind of, break it up a little bit, not just have me talking, have another keeper come on and share her opinion about these species. So enough of me talking. Let's get on to the new video, Feed and Facts. All right, so this is going to be a bit of a feed and an update for my Tliltocotl or Tiltocotl. I've heard it pronounced a bunch of different ways. The new genus, unfortunately, is very difficult to pronounce because nobody's pronouncing ancient Aztec anymore. Although hopefully some people chime in with what they think it is or how it's pronounced. Albopilosum. So T. albopilosum, everybody's favorite quote-unquote beginner species. Now, the focus of this video, I was going to try to feed them. The idea is supposed to be feed and facts, where I do some feeding, but then do some facts, so it's not just a feeding video. However, this one here is in pre-molt, so I'm not going to be able to feed her. This one here is the Honduran curly hair, which is funny because there is a lot of thought that the ones that were coming in that were supposedly from Honduras were actually from Costa Rica. And it is now thought that many of the ones that are in the hobby were actually hybridized with other species, including B. vagans. So you'll see a lot of people now listing theirs as Tliltocotl albopilosum Nicaraguan form. That is the one that is considered to be pure. I believe they started coming into the United States in 2011 or so, and now generally the ones we're getting imported seem to be more of the Nicaraguan. Now, how to tell them apart? It can be difficult. You can see this one here has more of a brownish, bronzish tinge to it, where the Nicaraguans, the base color is usually much darker, but it's really difficult to distinguish between the two of them just by looking at them. So generally speaking, unless you bought one that was labeled as Nicaraguan and you know it's a Nicaraguan, just assume that it is not a Nicaraguan, because we have a lot of people contacting me asking me if they could tell them which kind theirs was. And the first question I ask is, what was it sold as? Because generally speaking, if it's going to be sold as a Nicaraguan, you know it's a true Nicaraguan. Now, these guys make a lot of beginner species lists because of the temperament. They're supposedly are usually very, very laid back. And this is one of the species that people that are into handling will say that usually is very open to handling. But again, temperament may vary from species to species. And in a moment, we will see my Nicaraguan. And there have been some reports that the Nicaraguan versions of these can be a little bit more skittish and prone to defensive-ness. Now, another thing that should be mentioned is that there was a recent CITES report in which they mentioned that the Nicaraguan species and the Honduran / Costa Rican species may actually be two different species of tarantulas, or the variants, I should say, are actually two different species of tarantulas, although that hasn't been decided yet. That would be something to keep an eye on. So it's best to keep these guys apart and not to try to breed them if you have two different ones. That would be considered hybridization, and that is a big no-no in the hobby. So now that we've seen my big girl here that hopefully will molt soon because I do have a mature male for her, we are going to slide over and check out my Nicaraguan, who hopefully will eat because this one just molted. And as you can see, a little darker base color in the legs. I'm going to drop a cricket in. These guys are usually voracious hunters. There we go. And as you can see with this one, the base color around, I'm just going to point with these, the legs are a little darker. Abdomen still has that bronze look, but the curly hairs are much more pronounced. And a lot of times what you will see sold on the market are ones that kind of look like the old curly hairs, but the hairs aren't particularly profound, like they don't stick out like that. These guys really, the real true full-blooded ones, really have a bad hair day. And I actually have one that looks like a Honduran, or was sold as a Honduran curly hair, but actually looks like it's probably a hybrid of the T. albopilosum and B. vagans. So you'll see the coloration. Well, I won't show it. Actually, I'll flash a picture up. The coloration is all messed up because it's a combination of both of those. But these guys are very easy to take care of. One thing that is mentioned quite a bit, and I'll point it out in here, is whether or not they require a lot of moisture. I do keep my smaller slings on moist substrate. I allow the top to dry out, and they will burrow, but I found like this one over here, the big girl over here, actually stopped burrowing at about 4 inches. She did burrow up into that point and then just sits right out in the open. This one here, the Nicaraguan, actually never burrowed, and there's been reports that where they're from, when it floods, they actually go a little semi-arboreal and go up in the trees. So maybe they're not as prone to burrowing as some of the other species. I would love to hear back from other folks. But I do keep the substrate partially moist even as adults, but I have found that mine don't seem to care either way whether the substrate is moist or not. And generally speaking, the way you can tell is if you moisten the part of the substrate down and the spider tends to linger over that moist substrate, then you've probably got a tarantula that appreciates some moisture. In the case of these guys, they don't seem to care either way, but I do make sure they have water dishes, and I have caught them drinking. So now, as part of this new feature, one of the things I will be doing is having folks kind of guest spot on here and talk about how they keep theirs and show off theirs. So for this one, we're going to pass over to my buddy California's Critters, who is going to go ahead and talk about her T. albopilosums.
Hello everyone. First off, I would like to say thank you so much to Tom Rand for letting me make a guest appearance on his channel. Especially to talk about my curly buddy over here, Dustin. Now, I purchased Dustin from a vendor at the Reptilian Nation Expo last year. The Tliotocado albopilosum is a New World tarantula native to some parts of Costa Rica. Now, being a New World tarantula, these tarantulas do possess mildly irritating urticating hairs that they can kick off their abdomen when distressed. I currently house Dustin in a large critter tote, and I also give her 4 inches of EcoWorth substrate. I mist her enclosure every once in a while to keep her from dehydrating, and I always provide a water dish with clean water at the ready. When it's time to eat, I feed Dustin 1 to 2 large prey items every 3 to 4 weeks. Dustin is actually the first tarantula whose molting process I've caught on camera. I felt very privileged to watch this moment unfold right in front of my eyes, and being able to see Dustin transform into a totally new spider. Her molt, I do have to say, was very difficult to sex, but I ended up finding out she was a confirmed female. I hope you all enjoyed my section of the collaboration. I would like to say thanks again to Tom Rand for inviting me to do this video. Now, I'm going to pass you back to him to finish it off.
So first off, a huge thank you for California. I totally appreciate it, buddy. She has an awesome channel, and I hope at the end of this, I'm going to put a little link up for you guys to go ahead and subscribe. You'll check her out. She obviously loves her animals, incredibly articulate. It's, I hate to say it, especially for a girl her age, and I look very forward to watching her grow her channel, and I'm happy to support it in any way I can. So again, there's a reason why these guys get the rep as being one of the best beginner species. They are very easy to care for. They're almost bulletproof as far as their husbandry. They grow fairly quickly, depending on the temperatures, eat like machines, and the temperaments are usually good. Again, I've heard reports that some of the T. albopilosum Nicaraguan species can be a little more high-strung, but I recently did a poll and asked people, and the majority of people said theirs were pretty laid back as well. I did hear that wild-caught specimens can be a little more amped up than some of the captive-bred specimens we have on the market. So know that if you pick up a wild-caught specimen, and again, I don't promote wild-caught specimen, grabbing wild-caught specimens anyway, but if you do end up with one, know that it could have slightly different behavior. You might have the gentle little spider that a lot of people talk about. So as always, thanks so much for watching. If you liked the video enough to subscribe, very much appreciated. You can click that circle right up there. I do hope some of you go over to California's channel, which I'm going to put the little thing right up there so you can subscribe to her to check out our collaboration featuring Grammostola pulchra / QUIROGAI. We're not sure which ones they are. And you can find that collaboration, a link to that right over in here. As always, love getting comments. I answer every single one. Thanks again for watching. We'll catch you guys next time.